In this car, it's weird because the pedal feels fine, damaged or anything, but check this out. There's my clutch. Right there. And right there, there's some of it. There's my clutch. I hate these Ford lug nuts because... Here's an interesting one. This is a 2013 Ford Focus, and it is a 5-speed manual transmission. I picked this up a couple weeks ago and I haven't had time to work on it just yet, but I did try to troubleshoot it. And this car runs, but it doesn't drive. So first thing I thought was like, oh, it's the clutch. And usually when a clutch fails, or when it failed for me in the past, from my experience, it just starts slipping, right? So when you put it in first or second or whatever, the higher the gear, the better it is to troubleshoot if the clutch is slipping. But in this car, it's weird because the pedal feels fine. Like, it feels like a normal pedal. And but then I already have the battery out of the car, but I wanted to explain what it's doing. You can start the car and literally put it in any gear without the clutch, without pushing the clutch in. You can put it in any gear while the car is running. It doesn't do anything at all. So it's like the clutch pedal's pushed down full time. That's what it feels like. It doesn't engage or grind or anything. And all the linkage from the shifter up under the hood is all connected to the transmission. It's all hooked up because I thought maybe the cable broke or something, but no, it's none of that. So I'm trying to figure out what it can be. And you know, I bled the clutch multiple times just to see if that will help anything, and it didn't at all. So I really didn't want to take the transmission off, which is no big deal on these front-wheel drive cars, but it still takes time, and I have the car at my house, and I don't have a lift here, so I'm gonna have to attempt this without a lift. I mean, anything is possible. It just would be easier on the lift, but I'm gonna do it here. So I'm gonna pull the wheels off, pull the axles out, and then I already have the battery tray out and everything like that, the battery. I just wanted to make sure that a car actually runs before I start disassembling things. So guess I'm gonna get some tools out, pull this wheel off, pull the other wheel off, pull both axles, and I'm not sure if I need to remove the subframe or not, because the subframe is sort of back there, but this here, this part of the subframe here that holds the control arm, it may be in the way. I'm not sure. I did this in other cars. I just haven't done a clutch on a Focus. So I mean, it's all pretty much the same. There's just a couple mounts, a couple brackets, and a couple bolts, and the clutch is out. So I'm actually interested to see what this clutch is gonna look like and what the actual issue is with this situation, because I've never had a clutch fail on me like that. It could be, you know, the bearing that's stuck engaged, I guess, but then the pedal would be on the floor. So it's interesting, and I don't know if anybody messed with this car before me and tried to fix it, but that's how I got it. So we're about to find out. Let's get to work. I hate these Ford lug nuts because they have the caps on them, you know what I mean? They have the chrome caps, and they just always get stuck. Usually, if I plan to keep the car for a while, I usually replace these for the solid ones, because these are just trash. So 1.25" socket seems to fit perfect. Luckily I had one at home. Big impact and send it. Boom, just like that. So the lower control arm ball joint is held by a bolt. So you remove the bolt and nut, and then just take a big pry bar like this one here, super long, and just push down on it like that, and the ball joint comes right out. So now I should have enough swing on the strut to be able to pull the axle out. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so I found the drain plug, but I still don't see a fill plug, but I'm sure we'll figure it out before we get there. Alright, it's still dripping, but most of it came out. I'm not even sure how much fluid the transmission holds, but I think I can pull the axle out now. Oops. It just snapped back in. Okay, there it goes. Driver's side axle is out. Seems to be in good shape. I still don't see a fill plug on this transmission. This is just getting interesting. Alright, so driver's side axle is out and out of the way. I don't think the subframe is going to be in the way as far as I can see. What I'll do maybe is pull the fan out if I can over here, just so the engine can sort of swing forward, and I should be good there, and I don't have to remove the subframe. So right now I'm about to take this wheel off and remove this axle, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I got the lower transmission mount removed, and pretty much I have everything underneath the car removed or tucked away, including the starter, and also went ahead and removed the fan, so that way I have more room, like, to push the engine towards the radiator if I needed to. I don't know if I need to, but I just removed it because it was kind of tight. Anyway, so I have the jack underneath the engine supporting it, so I can go ahead and start removing this mount. And what I noticed is someone already got in here before me, and this whole mount is loose. So someone already attempted to fix this car, but either gave up or just didn't want to deal with it. But the way I see it is everything's fixable, and I mean, as long as there's time and money for tools and parts, everything's fixable. So this is I guess a two-piece mount. The bracket comes out just like that. Actually, I'm not gonna leave that there because the windshield might crack. So everything's going pretty good. I'm only about an hour into this project, and I'm more than 70% done with as far as removing the transmission out of place. So it looks like I just got to remove this guy here, and the mount should come up, and then I just unhooked the line, the hydraulic line that goes to the slave cylinder here. This is where I bled the clutch. There's a nipple here. You just twist that guy, and the reservoir is actually the same for the brake fluid and the clutch. So that was interesting. All right, well, let me figure out what size that is. Looks like a 17 or 18. Remove that and go from there. need more power. Sometimes I don't know what I would do without this 1400 foot-pound torque wrench. That thing's a beast. It doesn't remove a bolt or nut, it's just gonna snap it off. And that's happened to me a bunch of times. So as far as the shift cables go, you just pry them with the fork or a pry bar like this one. You just basically put it right here in between that and just pry it. It's just a clip. And a lot of times, I guess from what I learned is those pop off, and then you know, your gears won't work or whatever. And I was hoping that would be the case in this one, but it's not. But it's alright, it's no big deal. The transmission's almost out. So I've got a sensor unplugged here. I guess this tells you what gear you're in. And a couple things left is I want to remove this transmission mount bracket completely off the transmission because it will be in the way. And also I'm gonna unhook this hydraulic line, and I think we should be good. After that, we'll just basically detach it from the engine block, and that's it. And just start lowering it until it falls on the ground and cracks in half. Hopefully not. Hopefully it doesn't fall and cause any more damage, but we'll see how it goes. Oops. That should come out. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. And it's clean fluid because I bled this thing a bunch of times. So I should have just sucked all the fluid out so I'm not spilling any, but there's a catch can under there and it'll get it. So after this, I can tuck this thing away. Or, yeah, what I do is, yeah, I'll just hook it up here so it's above the reservoir so it doesn't leak anymore. And that should be it. Now I can go ahead and get all the bolts out that hold the transmission to the engine, and that should be it. I'm actually excited to see what this clutch is gonna look like. You know, hopefully it's the clutch at this point because I did all this work, but we'll find out. So the transmission just kind of fell on me, but it didn't get damaged or anything. But check this out. There is my clutch. Right there. And right there. There's some of it. There's my clutch. And I thought this was stuck maybe. But looks like it's still okay, but most likely I'm going to replace that anyways. Most people do. Because, I mean, it's took me less than 2 hours to remove this, but I definitely don't want to do it again because of something I didn't replace. But at this point, what I'm going to do is remove the clutch itself off the engine and see what that looks like. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, wow. Yep. Wow. The clutch is all stuffed in there. Someone was rough. This car only has 85,000 miles. And wow. That flywheel got hot at some point. So I actually found a piece of metal in here, just laying. I wonder where that came from. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the clutch. Wow. Okay. Look at this. That's supposed to be that material. It's completely gone, and it sheared the rivets and broke. And so that's a piece of metal right here. That is from that. Alright, well, this should be an easy fix. Let's get a new clutch and some new parts and reassemble. Alright, so it is the next day and I was able to get a clutch locally. I called O'Reilly in the morning and they got this thing delivered by 3 o'clock. O'Reilly's is just it's my favorite store because if they don't have it, they can get it pretty much the same day. So it came with the new slave cylinder, which is nice because I was gonna just keep that one, but then you know, because it's still in good shape, but I just don't want to chance it and, you know, having to go bad, and I'm gonna have to take the transmission off again. So that's good that it came with it. It does look like it's a little bit upgraded, sort of, so that's good. And then, you know, it came with a tool, a lining tool, and pressure plate, and the clutch disc itself. Hopefully it's labeled. Okay, flywheel side, so it goes like that. All right. I didn't get a flywheel because I can't get it that quick, and I'm trying to assemble this today because it's supposed to rain tomorrow. But luckily the disc, the way it failed, you know, the old disc, it was on the other side where the pressure plate is, so it didn't do any damage to the flywheel. So I was able to just take a scuff pad and kind of clean up, you know, the burn marks a little bit, and it's smooth. So I tried to take it to a local machine shop. They couldn't do it because it is like the double clutch thing, so they have no way of securing it locally here. I'm sure there's other machine shops out there that can do it, but locally we don't have one. So I am going to just reuse the old one and it should be fine. I mean, car has 80,000 miles on it, or 85, so I should be able to get away with it just reusing the flywheel. So let's start reassembling things and see if we can take this thing on a drive today. So it did come with the new bolts because they're shorter. That's why I am putting Loctite on the new bolts and putting them back in. Smooth, very smooth. As you can see, I pressure washed this transmission inside out, so it looks like it's brand new because it was all covered in grease and stuff like that from people spilling oil on it. It's not that it was leaking, it was just it had some brake fluid. I even spilled some brake fluid on there when I was trying to bleed the clutch. But so we got the new slave cylinder, or whatever it's called, back on the transmission. This bearing does seem to be smoother than the original one, so that's good. And you know, this boot is still here. I wonder if this needs to be on the inside or outside. Not sure. But right now the flywheel can go back onto the engine, I am gonna reuse the bolts. Now if you're doing this, you probably should get a new flywheel and new bolts, but I'm just gonna reuse the bolts and the flywheel on this one. I have no other choice. I have to assemble it today, so let's continue. And I am putting Loctite on everything here. I don't want anything getting loose or vibrate off. I'm not trying to do this again. I mean, I'll do it again on a different car or another car just like it. I just hate redoing something that's on the same exact car. Alright, so I just cleaned everything up with brake fluid. Brake cleaner. And I guess I'm good to install this guy here back in place. And is it okay? So it goes like this, right? Okay. So the clutch disc itself has a what's called a mark on it. It says which way to put it. So that's that. This tool should fit right in, but it's being weird. Okay. Alright, all the bolts are tight. You gotta go in the pattern, like a cross pattern. And I did put Loctite on it. So now this tool can come out. It should be centered. And now it's gonna be the fun part. Trying to put this transmission back on there by myself. That thing weighs like 200 something pounds probably. Or maybe at least 200. I don't know. It's pretty heavy. Plus it's awkward to hold it over here. But I'm gonna lower the engine, angle it again, and attempt to put it back on. I'll have a few bolts ready to start once it's in place. Well, I gotta say it wasn't easy, but it actually popped into place in about 5 minutes of wiggling it back and forth. And you know, it's pretty heavy, especially on this end right here where all the gears are. So by yourself, I guess it's possible. I just did it, but I used the jack a little bit here and there just to kind of wiggle it back in place. But now it's bolted to the engine, and now it's just reassembly and then a test drive. So now I'm gonna hook up the line, the hydraulic line here, and hook up the cables and put the mount up over here just so the transmission is secured, and then I can remove the jack from underneath and put the transmission mount underneath. And I gotta remember to fill it. This is the fluid that goes into the transmission. We gotta just remember to fill it. That's why I put these bottles here, just so I don't forget, because the fill plug is over here on the front, so it'll be easier to fill it with like a funnel through here. I don't feel like pumping it. I have a little, like a hand pump. I just don't feel like messing with that, so I'm just gonna put like a hose and then a funnel up here and just fill it. I think it takes like 1.8 quarts or something like that. Pretty much 2. I'm probably just gonna put 2 of them in there and then and see how that goes. But let's continue. Come on. Okay. just spilled fluid everywhere. That's awesome. I just washed everything. Yeah, so I mean I spilled some fluid, but you know what I mean, like that's just part of the deal. There's always gonna be something spilling out, coolant, oil, hydraulic. That's the worst part about the whole thing, but it's all right. I mean, that's over now. And I don't remember which one goes where, but I'm sure it'll only go one way. These cables here. There we go, there's one. Yeah, they only go one way, so you can't mix them up. It's just weird how they just snap on like so easy. I feel like it would break really quick, but that's the design Ford made, so we'll just go with that. So it looks like I'm safe to just go ahead and put this transmission mount on. I'm gonna bleed the clutch a little bit later because I always have access to it right there. So I'm gonna assemble everything here and then bleed the clutch last. Remember when I took this mount off, these nuts over here were already loose, so I gotta go up with the engine just a little bit, and I guess it needs to go back that way. So it's usually best to just start all the bolts or nuts and make sure everything's lined up before you tighten stuff, because then you may have to loosen things again. So alright, so that's that long bolt that holds the transmission to the mount is started. We've got 4 of these started, so I can go ahead and tighten up everything here and go from there. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot about this. Where's this go? Oh man, see? Which way does it go? Okay, see, I already forgot something. This goes underneath here, so it's a two-piece. It's a two-piece mount, and I already forgot. That's what I was saying earlier, is you gotta make sure that start all the bolts, but don't tighten them until you know for sure that you got everything in place. This is a very good example here. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten all the nuts and bolts here and then continue. Alright, it's time to put the axles back in and we'll be test driving in no time. This actually wasn't that bad, honestly. Probably total time it's gonna be about 4 hours, but that's because I didn't have the clutch, and this would have been a lot quicker if I already had the parts, and all I had to do was pull it out and, you know, put the new clutch in. But still not bad, you know, a couple hours after work every day for 2 days. It's not bad. Well, it looks like I will not be test driving today because the threads on the passenger side axle got stripped. They're already kind of damaged, and I started it by hand and just stripped them all the way with the impact. No big deal, I can pick another one up tomorrow morning, but it's too late today to pick one up. So what I have left is to put the fluid in the transmission. I didn't do that because the axle is still out. So put the fluid in. I already bled the clutch with the nipple right there. I use a air tool to bleed The air tool I got from Harbor Freight. The battery's back in place. It's not connected just yet. I'll connect it tomorrow once I put the axle in and put the fluid in and take it on a test drive. I'm interested to see if it's gonna drive. It should, but who knows, maybe something went wrong. So until tomorrow. So thanks to my mistake here, where when I removed the axle I didn't put the nut back like you should, and somehow the threads got scraped on the pavement and damaged the threads slightly. And then when I tried to put the nut back on, I didn't hand started it like I should, and I used the impact and basically stripped the threads all the way. So my only solution at the moment is I don't want to wait for a new axle. So I have this used one here which is messed up halfway, but all I need is this end here. So I'm gonna attempt to just swap these ends around, and that way I can get this car back on the road today. Let's do it. So after messing with this axle for a few minutes, I realized that it does not come apart over here on this end, on the hub end, but it does come apart here very easily. You just remove the clamp and you just slide that back. There's 3 bearings that go on there. This is off the bad axle. So I was able to swap things over, and now the axle's ready to go back inside. So let's wrap this up so we can go test drive this thing. Time to fill the transmission up with fluid, and then I'll be ready to lower the car and take it for a drive. It's supposed to take just under 2 quarts. So I'm probably just gonna put both quarts in there. Man, it's splashing everywhere because I'm not holding the bottle right. All right, moment of truth. I've got everything assembled. The car's back on the ground. Let's see if it's gonna drive. We know it runs, but it didn't drive before because of the clutch. There's some of the clutch still laying here. So let's see if it drives. So the check engine light is on. I'm not worried about it right now. The clutch pedal, I already bled the brakes, but the clutch pedal seems kind of soft. Now let's see if it'll go into gear. Okay, see, if I'm not pushing the clutch in, it's not going into gear like it did before. So that's a good sign. Now I'm gonna push the clutch in and then put it in gear. Boom. So I have it in first. Oh, it's going right away. That is a great sign. Yep, the car is moving. Alright, let's see if how far it will go. Oh, the clutch feels good now. Alright, I'm gonna take it down the road and see how it does. Alright, so the clutch fixed the problem. Obviously, the clutch was tore up inside. I'm not sure how it failed or what happened, but I did see some fluid in there. So I'm guessing maybe the slave cylinder was leaking some fluid, and then the clutch started getting weak. And because it was, because of fluid, it was spinning more and getting hot. So I guess it finally had enough and gave out. But that's gonna be it on this video. Hopefully it helps somebody change the clutch. It's not that hard. You can do it at home in your driveway as long as you have a jack and some jack stands. And it is heavy, but you know, it was a one-man job for me. I did it myself, so you can do it too. Until next time, later.